Hey guys. So, I want to talk today about something that I've done a lot in my experience and career as a person in social forums, performing, doing music, speaking, getting on lives, etc., etc. And that is getting wrapped up in what I think other people are thinking about me, or what I think they are going to think about me, or worrying about what they might feel about me or might not feel about me, or on and on and on. And let me know if you've ever done that. It's something I've noticed that I have done a lot, be it from, I'm playing something and I notice someone in the audience kind of looking like that, can spin off on a story about that and what it means, and, what I'm doing in my music and what that can mean. Or even sometimes afterwards, a misunderstanding what someone says to me, maybe taking it the wrong way, or maybe even literally just not even hearing correctly what someone is telling me. There's lots of ways that I have spun off on worrying about what other people think about me. And so for me, this has deep roots. It can for a lot of us, I think. And really it has very little to do about the other person. But I'm just going to tell you a little story about the first time I actually remember doing this. And it was back in, I was in grade 1. I was, I guess, about 6 years old. And my little pod in my classroom decided to do Chicken Little, the story Chicken Little, and do a performance on Chicken Little. And so long story short, I don't quite remember what happened, but throughout the journey, I was one role, and then I was another role, and then finally I ended up as Chicken Little. And so long story short, I actually, in learning the role of Chicken Little, I'd learned a bunch of the different roles. And so we got on stage and we're performing, and I knew all my lines because, I was precocious or whatever like that. And I also knew everyone else's lines. And so when people were forgetting them on stage as Chicken Little, I was cueing them, I was encouraging them, I was, doing the thing that I'd seen my teacher do in practice, that, like just cueing people. Anyway, so I was doing that from the stage as Chicken Little, and all things good and great. So what happened then afterwards, got off the stage, and my mom was, family was in the audience, my mom, her boss was there, and somehow in my memory, my recollection of what happened afterwards was that somehow her boss made fun of me for knowing all the things and saying everyone's lines. And my remembrance of that time was that I had done something wrong by just kind of being myself and supporting other people as I saw my teacher do. So what I took away from that experience, was that when I'm myself in public, when I do what I naturally am inclined to do, that I embarrass myself and I embarrass my family. And I carried that belief with me. It's probably still partially operating for me, if I'm honest. I'm still unpacking some of that, right? But I have unpacked a lot of it. And here's what I want to share with you about that. That belief can then bleed into, oh my gosh, it's, when I'm going to go to perform or speak or share, to the point where, I was shaking profusely sometimes when I was playing the oboe through my teens, just had really terrible stage fright up until even just quite recently, and I still get nervous and scared, but would have major kind of a repel to performing. So I carried that story with me about when I get on stage, and I'm myself on stage, that I embarrass myself and I embarrass my family. What's funny, or funny maybe isn't the word, but what's interesting about this is that I've talked and I've unpacked this story with my mom a few times actually, and her recollection of the story is that she was so proud of me, that I knew all the parts, I was supporting my friends, I was also doing, saying my lines, and I was there for everyone else, and that she was proud, and she was proud that her boss saw me in that. And so what's interesting in that is that my memory and the story that I used to kind of beat myself up for years about it's not okay, it's embarrassing, maybe wasn't even factitious. And it doesn't even really matter exactly what happened or who was right, whose perception was right. What is most important in that is my perspective and what I did with that, and how it negatively impacted my ability to just be completely myself for years. for years and years and years and years, and to express myself and to share, to even speak up in groups. Sometimes it still doesn't feel completely safe because of some of that, my perception still operating there, So just so interesting that she was proud of me, in my memory, or my feeling of it as the 6-year-old self was that I had done something so wrong and embarrassing. So the point of all this is that it's so important to unpack some of these beliefs and unpack some of these stories. And it's not even really about what the other person, whether they're thinking it or not. Most often they're not even thinking that thing that, we can spin out and go on and on and on around. It's about unpacking our own perception. It's about me getting right with myself in terms of valuing myself, valuing my expression, valuing what I have to share and say, even in the story to all of you, or just even in the songs that I share, whatnot. It's not really about what other people think about it. That's them. That's up to them. That's really about them. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that in another post, just what I'm realizing about that in another example of that. But it's so important to connect with and come from that place inside ourselves and find that deep value, that deep worth, to start to unpack and bust through some of those stories that I know that you, and probably a lot of us tuning in here because of the title of my live, that we have operating from a long time ago. All those beliefs that we have of what other people think, or what other people thought, or what other people said, and what, that, my friend, is a hair shirt that I'm wearing myself, or that you're wearing yourself, or that's a big backpack of boulders that I'm carrying around with me that I don't need to carry around anymore. All those things that I think that other people thought about me, or, expected, or just like all the assumptions I've made, that's up to me to start to unpack one at a time. And so this is something that I am so passionate about doing right now, because what it's doing for me is it's really letting me be more present with you. Hi, hey, Miss Joanna, nice to see you. Hi, Donna. I'm telling a story time about my experience of time and time again taking on other people's stories, or what I think other people are thinking about me, and just what it takes to get liberated from that. And what it takes is really unpacking some of those stories, looking at them, feeling the feeling, and then allowing myself to validate myself and to stand in my worth and to stand in the fact that I've got something to say and share. And it doesn't, what other people think about me, that's theirs. And so the invitation to you, if you're open to it, is just to see if there's any way, or anything that kind of even maybe the first thing that pops up to you, if there's something from your past that someone that maybe you thought they thought, or someone shared with you, to just take a moment to sit with that with yourself today, and just the ripple effect and the impact that had for you, and just allow some of that emotion to stir. And one of the things I really like to do with this is just to really physically put my hand kind of on my heart, even on my belly sometimes, and just take some deep breaths and just be there for myself. Be the parent that I need, or needed, or that I need right now, and just allow myself to know that it's okay. That it's okay to have those vulnerable feelings, to have those feelings of embarrassment, to have those feelings of not good enough, but also know that they're not the full story, and that they're not really what's operating, and that actually I do have value. You do have value. You do have something to share. You do have something to say. So yeah, with all of that said, I would love to, if you're feeling up for it, if you're game for it, post down below. What is your, do you have something to share around that, or just even just a short memory? Or did you try out that experience with putting your hand on your heart and your belly? And were you able to move through some of that for yourself? I would love to hear your experience of that, and just to give yourself an opportunity, even to start to speak to it, or to vocalize it, or to express what's there for you. And that's how we start to, one at a time, unpack that heavy bag of burdens, of stories, of beliefs, of thoughts, of worries, of what other people are going to say or think, or what they did say or think. That's how we start to unpack it slowly. All right, my friends. Happy travels.